Bismillah Rahman Rahim. Assalamu alaikum everyone. I hope you're all doing fine. We are back with lecture number 22 for English comprehension and composition. Before moving on, I'll tell you what we are going to do today. In the previous lecture, we talked about what précis writing is, how to go about it, how to read a passage and change it into a very short, crisp summary of the original passage. And we did some exercises as well. We analyzed some sentences, and then we went over to analyzing or making a précis of paragraphs. And today we are going to do the same, the how to write a précis. There are one or two documents that we are going to look at, summarizing what we talked about before and adding to it with some more information. And there are more exercises on précis writing, because précis writing is a skill which needs a lot of practice. The more you practice, the more you get better at it. So let's move on and start discussing what a précis is and how to write it. It's a kind of a revision. We have talked about it before, but before going over to some technical or some more complicated exercises, it is good that we revise what we have already done. Now here are some important tips to making a précis, and then we have an exercise on a very different passage that you have to change into a summary or a précis after reading it. So let's first quickly revise what are the tips or what are the steps of making a précis, and then we do the exercise. Précis writing is another name for summarizing, as we discussed in the previous lecture, that précis is a short summary of a longer original passage. Writing a précis means to shorten a given passage to about 1/3 of the original. It is shortened into 1/3 of the original passage. If your original passage is around 300 words, your précis would be of 100 words. So similarly, you need to have a word count of the original passage that is mostly written at the end of every passage that you are asked to make a précis of. And when you make a précis, you also have to write the word count at the end. So a lot of things have to be omitted, but none of the important points or things can be omitted. So when we say that a passage of 300 words is changed into a very small paragraph of 100 words, there are many things that are omitted, that are skipped, that are deleted, but you have to make sure that they are not important things, they are not important ideas. We have already talked about paragraph writing. You have a very clear idea what is important in a paragraph. It's the topic sentence, and there are supporting details, and then we have the concluding sentence. Similarly, you have to look at each paragraph in your précis in the original passage and see what are the supporting details, how many topic sentences you have, and what are the important pieces of information that are being given about the topic. You're not supposed to remove those from the précis. It contains the gist or the main theme of the passage expressed in your own words, and it is basically in your own words. You are not supposed to pick longer sentences from the passage. They are supposed to be your own words, very simple and very easy to understand. Précis writing needs unwavering attention and full concentration. As I just said, that you need a lot of practice if you want to be good at précis writing. So pick up any paragraph, and going through these tips, you can easily have a very important set of skills to be applied to any kind of paragraphs related to any field of knowledge. You can even pick a smaller article from the newspaper and try to make a small summary or précis of it. This will help you understand how you can apply your set of important skills to a paragraph, skills of précis writing. One can follow the following method in order to become a good précis writer. So these are some numbered tips that you can follow, or they are basically steps that you can follow to become a good précis writer. Read the passage thoroughly and give it a title. When you are given a passage, read it completely, read it thoroughly with full understanding. and in your mind give it a little small title. You can quickly pick up a title for it, so that you understand that what the passage is all about. That's what is important at the initial stage. The title you choose will indicate whether you have been able to understand the passage or not. If your title does not deal with the main idea of the passage, you have not understood the passage properly. So when you choose a title, it will help you indicate whether you have been able to understand the gist of the passage or not. And if your title is not exactly related to the topic, that means you still need to give the passage one or two more readings so that you understand what it's all about. Give a second reading, underline the main ideas of the passage. Now in the second reading, you are supposed to pick up a pencil and underline the main ideas. Whatever you think is the gist of the passage or the thesis statement, whatever is related to the thesis statement directly, or any idea that is that has been taken from or is closely related to your thesis statement, you are supposed to underline that, or you can even number those so that you can separate them later and then put them in your précis, and you know that these are the ideas that you're not supposed to skip from your précis because they are important. We talked about this particular fact earlier, that you're supposed to read your original passage at least 3 times. In just the first reading or second reading, you have a very nominal or basic idea of what the passage is about, but the third and fourth reading, if you need it, would definitely help you have a very clear idea what the passage is about, and you know what the thesis statement is, and how many different details about the topic have been discussed, whether it's just one general idea or there are many other ideas, or there is just one specific idea that they are talking about, and all the rest of the details are revolving around that. So the third reading would definitely help you determine that. Number 3, make a draft of the précis using only the underlined sentences. Now what you have to do now is that take out all the underlined main ideas and make a précis of those ideas. Try to connect them with the help of transition words and make a small paragraph. That would be the first draft of your précis. So it's almost ready. You just need to read it again and make a word count and see whether you need more words or you need to cut something out. Omit illustrations, examples, details, and repetition. In a longer passage, it is long mostly because there are repetitions, there are illustrations, there are examples, and then a lot of transition words have been used, transition phrases and all. So when you skip those and change them into smaller words, and there are longer explanations that can be changed into one word substitutions. So when you do that, automatically the word count becomes lower and it goes down. So you always have to avoid illustrations, examples, details, and repetitions. Arrange these points logically. Generally, the order of the original is retained. Now, the ideas that you have picked from the passage, that the underlined ideas that you have changed into a small paragraph, they are supposed to be in the logical order, in the order that they occur in the original passage. जो sentences आपने अलग किए हैं, उनका order आपके original passage के order से अलग नहीं होना चाहिए, वो बिल्कुल उसी order में होने चाहिए जो आपके original passage में है. So that is important. Pick those sentences up, jumble them up, and or arrange them up and put them in the correct order. That's one important thing that you have to do before making the neat draft of your précis. Write in your own words, and all the details that you have underlined from the passage, you have to change them into your own words. They are not supposed to be picked up from the passage and just put in the paragraph. A précis which borrows phrases and language from the original usually crosses the word limit, because you have not changed the word sentence structure, you have not limitized it, and then you have not omitted the extra words. So such a précis that picks up or borrows words and sentences and phrases from the original, it always crosses the word limit. वो word limit से ज़्यादा हो जाती है और वहाँ पे आपके marks कटते हैं. Borrow only the ideas and express them in your own language. Now, when you read the passage at least 3 times, you know that there are 1, 2, 3, 4 ideas that are important in the passage. Pick those ideas and change them into your own words. Change the language a little bit and then put them in your précis passage. If the summary is too long, rewrite it to bring it within the limit of near about 1/3 of the original. And then look at the summary that you have made. If it is too long, you're supposed to bring it to a smaller, closer limit, that is the 1/3 of the original passage. ज़्यादातर ऐसा होता है कि आपको précis का फर्स्ट ड्राफ्ट बनाने के बाद उसको एडिट करना पड़ता है और उसमें से एक्स्ट्रा डिटेल्स निकाल के कनेक्शंस बनाने पड़ते हैं और एक प्रॉपर पैराग्राफ जो है वो आपको बनाना होता है. Mostly ऐसा करना पड़ता है. So whenever you are doing a précis exercise, always keep at least 15-20 minutes for a passage that is around 400, 450 or 500 words. Passages longer than these need more than 20 or 30 minutes. So this will give you a lot of time for at least 3 very thorough readings of the passage, and then picking up the main ideas and putting them in a rough draft, and then that rough draft is supposed to be read at least twice to make necessary changes, because you have to add transitions, you have to connect sentences, you have to delete or add sentences or ideas. So it's important that you are given at least 8 to 7 minutes to look at that passage very thoroughly, especially in an exam, because in an exam you have a very limited time. So keep at least 20 to 25 minutes for your précis question, and if you can spare 30 minutes, that's more than enough, or that's too good. And number 8 is the précis should be in the same tense, in third person and in indirect speech. You are not supposed to use direct speech in the précis, and that it is supposed to be in third person and in the same tense in which the original passage is written. You're not supposed to change the tense of the précis. One word substitution of longer terms is very helpful. As I just told you before in one idea as well, that you mostly have to change longer explanations, longer definitions into one word substitutions. Sometimes we have very long adverbial expressions, and we can simply change them into one adverb. And similarly, there are adjective phrases that can be changed into one word substitutions. For example, I say my chain is made of gold. Or you can say I have a golden chain, or I have a gold chain. So it can be changed into just one word. And similarly, regarding adverbs, she talks in a very rude manner, and she talks rudely. So you can change in a rude manner into just one word adverb, that is rudely. So there can be countless many examples. While you read the passage, you get an idea where you have to use the one word substitutions. Now, moving on to an exercise regarding all these tips. This was a brief revision of what we did in the last lecture, that was how to write a précis. These are basic steps which you have to follow. Your précis is not supposed to exceed the word limit. You sometimes have to give it a title as well as the requirement of the question is. If it's not asked, you're not supposed to give it. And then it's supposed to be in your own words. You're not supposed to pick up sentences or phrases from the original passage and just thrust them or insert them into your précis or summary. Then you have to first make a rough draft and then rewrite it or revise it, edit it according to your requirement, and staying in the word limit, you have to change it into a neat draft. Now this is the exercise that we need to do now. Let's first read this paragraph and try to understand what are the ideas that are discussed here according to your knowledge of paragraphs. paragraph writing, the topic sentence, the supporting details, and the concluding sentences. And then we'll talk about an outline that has been made out of this paragraph to help you understand how you have to go about it, because an outline or the listing down of main ideas from a passage before making a précis is very important. That helps you limitize your writing, limitize your summary to a certain word limit. Otherwise it will be very long, and you won't have time to edit or recheck it in the end. So this is the paragraph. Let's read it at least twice so that you understand what the gist of the passage is. Trees give shade for the benefit of others, and while they themselves stand in the sun and endure the scorching heat, they produce the fruit of which others profit. The character of good men is like that of trees. What is the use of this perishable body if no use is made of it for the benefit of mankind? Sandalwood, the more it is rubbed, the more scent does it yield. Sugar cane, the more it is peeled and cut into pieces, the more juice does it produce. The men who are noble at heart do not lose their qualities even in losing their lives. What matters whether men praise them or not? What difference does it make whether they die at this moment or whether lives are prolonged? Happen what may, those who tread in the right path will not set foot in any other. Life itself is unprofitable to a man who does not live for others. To live for the mere sake of living one's life is to live the life of dog and crows. Those who lay down their lives for the sake of others will assuredly dwell forever in a world of bliss. Now, looking at the paragraph, the first impression you get is it is about people who live for others, who spend their lives to make others happy, who totally neglect what they want for themselves. They only think about making other people happy and giving them what they need, instead of thinking about their own selfish interests. So this is the passage about. Let's identify the topic sentence and the concluding sentence so that we have a clear idea where to find the supporting details and how our supporting details are supposed to be picked up and made a list of, so that they are closely related to our topic sentence. So we see that in the first, trees give shade for the benefit of others is not a topic sentence because we have no idea what the simile is about. Your topic sentence is this one: the character of good men is like that of trees. This is your topic sentence, as it tells us that the character of good men has been compared with trees. The way trees give shade to provide help and sustenance to others. Similarly, good men are those who live their life for the benefit of others rather than their own selfish interests. And similarly, this last sentence here: those who lay down their lives for the sake of others will assuredly dwell forever in a world of bliss. This is your concluding sentence. So now you have a very clear idea with the repetition of the same thought in both the sentences that what the passage is about. So let's pick up the important ideas and see whether our outline matches it or not. The first sentence tells us that there is a simile, there is a comparison that has been developed between good men and trees. So this is the comparison that you have to take to your summary passage or précis passage, but not in exact the same words that are there in the original passage. And then there are two examples of sandalwood and sugar cane. That sandalwood, the more it is rubbed or the more it is put into difficulty, it yields more scent. Similarly, sugar cane, when it is peeled, cut and crushed into smaller pieces, it produces more juice. So these examples closely relate to human beings. The more they go through difficulties, they know how to help others, and they understand that others' mutual benefits are more important than their own selfish interests. So let's look at the outline here, and then we go over to the précis. The outline here is separated with these dashes, and you can change it into a bulleted form list or numbered list. That's not a problem. It's almost the same. You just have to pick important ideas that are supposed to be there in your précis. The character of good men is like that of trees. Here you can just pick up sentences from the original passage, but when you write the précis, you have to change those into your own words. What is the use of this perishable body if no use is made of it for the benefit of mankind? Now, like the tree uses its body to give shade to others, the tree takes up all the sun, all the sunshine, and people standing underneath the tree do not have or get the brunt of that sunshine. They are not damaged by that sunshine. Similarly, the use of human body is in a way that it is, if it is used for the benefit of mankind, otherwise it's not useful. The men who are noble at heart do not lose their qualities even in losing their lives. Even if they die, people remember them for the good deeds they have done. Those who tread in the right path will not set foot in any other. Those who are righteous, who know that they are going on the right path, they are doing the right thing, they will never go anywhere else. To live for the mere sake of living one's own life is to live the life of dogs or crows. Dogs and crows are basically considered to be selfish animals, not doing anything for others, because they whatever they find they eat themselves and they don't give to anyone. So it's just a comparison that has been made. Those who lay down their lives for the sake of others will assuredly dwell forever in a world of bliss. So these are the important points that have been taken out in the form of an outline, and if we simplify them, we can make a very good précis passage. And let's look at the précis passage now. And you have to make a précis of this passage before actually moving on to this one that we are going to read now, and then you can compare your answer with this one. The title is Good Men Live for Others. It can be a sentence if it's really necessary or if it's a good one. The character of good men is like that of trees. They live for others and do not lose their qualities even in losing their lives. They always follow the right path. Praise is immaterial to them. See, praise is immaterial to them. They don't expect that people praise them for what they have done. They just do it and leave the rest to God Almighty. To live for one's own sake is to lead the life of beasts. It's here we have not mentioned the names of dogs and crows, but we've just said that to live the life for one's own sake is like living the life for like a beast, because beasts are very aggressive and they don't let anyone get any benefit from whatever they have hunted. Only those who lay down their lives for others will live forever in a world of bliss. Now, the last sentence has been made simpler. Those who lay down their lives for the sake of others will assuredly dwell forever, live forever in a world of bliss. So, phrases have been picked up, but except for the first sentence that was a kind of comparison, no other sentence has been picked up from the original passage. So this is how you have to go about it. In the last lecture we also discussed some examples of sentences that were changed into smaller sentences, so that you have an idea how you have to go about it sentence wise. Otherwise, we also talked about paragraphs that help you change that longer passage into a summary or into a précis by following the rules. We talked about the rules as well. Here are 1 to 9 rules that you have to follow, including you have to give the passage at least 3 readings, then you have to omit illustrations, examples, and your passage is précis is supposed to be in logical order. It's supposed to be in your own words, and it is supposed to be about 1/3 of the original, and it's not supposed to be very long, and you are not supposed to use indirect speech, and one-word substitutions are also used. So after this exercise, we move on to another one. that has a very long passage that consists of 3 long paragraphs. We're going to read these paragraphs, analyze them, and see what are the important details. As I tell you about the details, you're supposed to have your notebook in front of you. You keep writing those important points down, and then you make a précis of your own, and then there is this précis written down here, and we'll discuss that in detail and see which of those points have been added to the précis paragraph and which are omitted. Sample English précis writing passage. Let's read through this one very carefully. Remember, you have to give your passage at least 3 readings. There are 2 considerations which deserve at least a word in any discussion of the future of the Indian theatre. The first is the rapid development of the cinema as a competitive for prophesied favor. At first, in the early flush of cinematic triumph, people, some of whom might have been expected to know better, prophesies the extinction of the theatre. It is now clear that though here and there temporarily the theatre may be affected, the cinema cannot hope to replace the stage and elbow it out of existence. Experience in the West has shown that the stage will always be required as a federal studio. For the technique is different, and great stage actors have always, to their disgust, discovered that film acting is at least only second best to them. It cannot mean to them what the stage means. Something is lacking in the human touch. In the theatre, heart responds to heart and mind acts on mind in a way unknown to the cinema. Second paragraph. Thus, there is no danger of extinction to the theatre. On the other hand, the rivalry of the screen ought to and will put theatre to a new test and give it a new stimulus that may well lead to still higher planes of artistic achievement. Finally, a word about a national language spoken, written, and thought might do for the theatre in India. With the new awakening in social life, the need of a common tongue is being increasingly felt. Much work is being done to bring out a common linguistic medium. The day when it is accepted will be a great day for the Indian theatre, and as it will be for all art in the country. But the theatre, because its lifeblood is spoken word, will gain most. With a common tongue, with a live national consciousness, the theatre will become to its own as definite instrument of national unity, reflecting the national mind, interpreting the national heart, and dreaming national dreams for the future. Now, just giving the passage a first reading, what does it tell you about what the passage is about? Yes, the passage is about the comparison between Indian theatre and cinema. Now, the difference between theatre and cinema is very obvious. You know it, you are very clear about it. Cinema is the motion picture, the movies that we watch. जो फिल्में बनाने का काम होता है वो सिनेमा कहलाता है, और स्टेज और थिएटर इज़ वेयर यू गिव लाइव परफॉर्मेंस. you prepare for it, you remember your dialogues, you have no chance of any mistakes or anything. It's the background music and props and everything is ready, and it comes in when it's needed, and you have to do your performance, give your performance according to that. So film in itself is challenging, but stage or theatre is more challenging. So in India, of course, these are 2 very important artistic mediums, and they are being compared. And the thesis statement or the idea that is generated is that people believe that stage or theatre will be extinct after some time. Extinct means that it would perish because लोग उसको देखेंगे नहीं और वो flourish नहीं करेगा, वो develop नहीं करेगा, तो वो time के साथ साथ सिनेमा के बोझ के नीचे आके ख़त्म हो जाएगा और सिनेमा जो है वो ज़्यादा सामने आ जाएगा. लेकिन यहाँ पर ये claim दिया जा रहा है कि ऐसा नहीं होगा. सिनेमा को, थिएटर को ऐसा कोई ख़तरा नहीं है कि वो extinct हो जाए. Look at the last concluding sentence. With a common tongue, with a live national consciousness, the theatre will become to its own as definite instrument of national unity, reflecting the national mind, interpreting the national heart and dreaming national dreams for the future. It may not be the international instrument, but it will be a national symbol of national unity, a symbol of national culture that people would come and watch, and there will be dramas and acts that would reflect Indian culture, and it will never be extinct. So this is the basic idea about the passage. Let's read the passage again, paragraph wise, and find important details. In the first paragraph, we are told about two considerations which deserve at least a word in any discussion of the future of the Indian theatre. The first is the rapid development of the cinema as a competitive for prophesied favor. At first, in the early flush of cinematic triumph, people might have been expected to know better, prophesies the extension of the theatre. Now, people who we expect that they might know better or they should not say all these things, they prophesied or they predicted. Prophecy का मतलब होता है to predict के future में क्या होने वाला है वो बताने की कोशिश करना. So people prophesied or predicted that cinema or theatre will be extinct. So it is now clear that though here and there temporarily the theatre may be affected, the cinema cannot hope to replace the stage and elbow it out of existence. Now, after some time, of course, it's clear now that cinema simply cannot push theatre out of existence. It is an important medium. It is an important form of art in India, and it will remain. Experience in the West has shown that the stage will always be required as a federal studio. Now, in the Western countries, they have compared the situation of India with the Western countries, and they are telling us that in the experience of the Western countries tells us that stage will always be required as a limited, as a national medium of art and culture and cultivation. For the technique is different, and great stage actors, to their disgust, discover that film acting is at least only second best to them. Now, when you see, look at many examples of great stage actors moving on to doing films, they always come back and they are never happy with it, because stage is more of related to heart and mind to mind, because it's live. You kind of talk to your audience, you express your ideas in front of them. But in cinema, of course, it's recorded, and there is a lot of editing and music and effects and all those things. So cinema is totally different from stage. It cannot mean to them what the stage means. Something is lacking in the human touch. Of course, it's the human touch that is lacking, because your stage performance is live. Your audience is sitting right in front of you and looking at you with their own eyes. So it's that eye-to-eye contact and body-to-body and mind-to-mind contact that is important for them. In the theatre, heart responds to heart, and mind acts on mind in a way unknown to the cinema. And this is the difference. So there are two important considerations. First, the rapid development of the cinema, as people said that theatre would be extinct, but it didn't, and any great actors pick up many examples. When they move over to cinema, they always come back, and it's not half good for them. So cinema is different. Stage is different in the sense that it has the human touch. It is the heart to heart and mind to mind connection that makes it distinguished from cinema. And then in the middle paragraph, we see that there is no danger of extinction to the theatre. That's the main claim of the passage, that theatre in India will never be extinct. It will never end. On the other hand, the rivalry of the screen ought to and will put theatre to a new test and give it a new stimulus that may well lead to still higher planes of artistic achievement. When you have a rivalry or a competition in the field that you are working, of course you try to put in more of an effort, put in a lot of hard work, and you try to do your best and even better. So cinema cinema's existence around theatre, around stage, would definitely put stage to a lot of test. There will be difficulties, there will be problems, but it will change it into a more of enhanced artistic achievement place. So having cinema as comparison would in turn help stage rather than move it to extinction. So this was the second paragraph. In the third paragraph, we are told that when India has one language, one universal language one common language that they would be using for both cinema and stage, that would be the time when there will be more development. Because at the moment, India is a huge country, and there are many different languages being spoken, and in film and cinema and stage, there are different languages in which stage dramas are presented and movies are made. So when there is just one language जिसमें movies बनेंगी और जिसमें stage drama होंगे, तो उससे और भी ज़्यादा stage में life blood आएगा नया, और वो एक national consciousness develop करेगा. और last sentence देखें that it would be a definite instrument of national unity, reflecting the national mind, interpreting the national heart, and dreaming national dreams for the future. So this was a very close analysis of the passage. Now let's move on to identifying some important points that we have already done. I'll just highlight and you will keep noting them down. The first one is two considerations, that is rapid development of cinema as very competitive to stage, and then the extinction of theatre. And then a very important detail in the first paragraph is that many good stage actors, when they moved to movies, they believed that it was not half good for them, because stage or movies are lacking the human touch. What is the distinctive feature of stage? That is heart to heart and mind to mind response that is unknown to cinema. So, and in the second paragraph we talk about there is no danger of extinction to theatre, and the rivalry of cinema would definitely bring more higher planes of artistic achievement. Rivalry with cinema, screen का भी मतलब cinema ही है. And finally we talk about about a national language spoken, written and thought might do for the theatre in India, and that would help the theatre more than the cinema, because cinema में movies different languages में बन सकती हैं, पर अगर आप अपने theatre को, stage को एक common language में बनाते हैं, the whole India would be understanding it. So whatever country it is, it's not just India. आपका stage अगर एक ही language में हो रहा है, हर drama हर play आपका एक language में translate हो के उसकी performance हो रही है, so if that definitely would affect its acceptance among the masses, among the people who are coming to watch it. So these were the points that are a must, that are supposed to be added in your précis. Now look at this précis and see how they have changed the main points. उनको अपनी language में कैसे किया है, उनका sequence paragraph के accordingly रखा है या नहीं. Now let's read through this précis and see whether it matches the précis that you have made or not. Two things are to be considered when we think of the future of the Indian theatre. The first is the rivalry of cinema. At one time it was thought that the cinema might oust theatre. Oust is a very simple word for elbowing out, throwing out, pushing away. But now it is admired that the stage must always be there as a feeder for the studios. Besides, the great stage actors do not like the inhuman technique adopted by the cinema. On the other hand, its challenge might make the theatre rise even to greater heights. See, it's not exactly in the logical sequence, but it comes in a very reasonable sequence according to the details discussed in the passage. Secondly, the adoption of a language may do much for the Indian theatre. Such a language is being formed. When adopted, it will enable the stage to keep the cause of national unity by dramatizing the national consciousness. So it's about the stage, not being extinct. People who predicted that, they were wrong. Then good actors who went over to doing cinema, they didn't like its inhuman techniques, and then a common adoption of a common language would bring Indian theatre to great heights, and rivalry with cinema would definitely help Indian theatre rise even to better heights or better standards. So this was the passage, and look at the size of the original passage. It's 3 long paragraphs, but here we have only around 8 lines and a very small summary of the original passage. This is how you have to go about every passage that you are given, and following all the steps of the précis writing, you can become a very good précis writer. Now moving on to this exercise, it's the paragraph is a lot more challenging. It's a different language. It's only one idea that has been elaborated upon in a very long passage. You'll read it, and at least 3 times. By now you should understand what are the main tips or main steps of précis writing. You have to give at least the passage 3 readings, and then you understand what it tells us about the topic. So and after this passage we have 4 or 5 possible précis which are and there are things that are wrong with these précis. There is just one that is correct, and we have to identify that. Of course, right here it is identified for you to understand it quickly, but this is how you have to go about it, because it's a little challenging. This paragraph is slightly challenging in the sense that it's written in a different or more complicated language. There are big words that you might not have heard before. Read the following paragraph 2 or 3 times, then read the 4 précis of it given below. Each of them illustrates one major error in précis writing. The exercise has been excerpted from Warner's English Grammar and Composition Complete Course, page 429-437. Now this exercise has been taken from this book, and it's a very good exercise in the sense that you will understand what are the basic or main errors that you are not supposed to make when you are writing a précis. So let's read through this passage at least thrice, discuss all the main points, then move over to the précis and read through them and see which one is the correct one. The first thing that strikes the critical minority as it looks at the whole cultural picture is that ours is a nation of new rich people, well washed, all dressed up, rather pathetically unsure just what it is washed and dressed up for. A nation convinced that a multitude of material goods, standardized, furiously and expensively advertised by appeals to greed and vanity, will in themselves make life worth the living. Because we are new rich, we overvalue possessions. Almost any individual who makes a great deal of money very rapidly supposes that mere possession of wealth is evidence of worth. He also is apt to imagine that what his means, with his means, he can buy happiness. These mistakes usually seem folly to the old rich, to one who was born to poverty, whose father and mother were bred with it. Such a one knows that merely because he or his friends have it, it is no sign that they are worth it, but quite commonly the contrary. He has learned through experience that money is not in itself very valuable stuff. Happiness, which is what all men desire, cannot be purchased. It is an elusive something not for sale. The old rich know these things well enough, but the new rich rarely discover them until they have grown accustomed to possessions. So it seems to be with our society. We go in almost without question and in all classes for the sordid nonsense of supposing that externalities possessed ennoble the owners, that a full fist invariably indicates a fine spirit. Now you can imagine, you can see that the language is a little bit twisted as compared to the simpler passages that we have done before. But it's not as very difficult. There is a very common day-to-day important social aspect of human life that is being discussed here. So let's go through the passage again and see whether you understand it better in the second reading or not. Now this time you have to hold your pencil in your hand and keep underlining the main points. The first thing that strikes the critical minority as it looks at the whole cultural picture is that ours is a nation of new rich people. We are talking about new rich people, and here we had a reference to old rich people as well. Old rich. So it's basically comparison between these two classes, new rich people and old rich. What do the new rich people think? What are their characteristics, and what kind of people were the old rich? The new rich people, well washed, all dressed up, rather pathetically unsure just what they are dressed up and washed up for. A nation convinced that a multitude of material goods, standardized, furiously and expensively advertised, in themselves make life worth the living. Now this is a nation, the nation of new rich people, who believe that a multitude of material goods, the more the possessions they have, the happier they would be. This is what the new rich people believe. They believe कि वो बड़े बड़े घर बना लेंगे, बड़ी गाड़ियाँ होंगी उनके पास, बहुत अच्छे कपड़े होंगे, वो बड़े बड़े लोगों से मिलेंगे, तो वो खुश लोग हैं, या they have accomplished something or they are successful. This is what they believe. Because we are new rich, we overvalue possessions. This is the main idea. Because ये वाली सारी बात का जो gist है वो है we overvalue possessions, and we here means the new rich people. Almost any individual who makes a great deal of money very rapidly supposes that mere possession of wealth is evidence of worth. Now हर वो इंसान जो बहुत ज़्यादा पैसा कमा रहा होता है वो ये समझता है कि उसके पास बहुत पैसे आने की वजह से वो एक बहुत काबिल इंसान बन गया है. हालांकि ऐसा नहीं होता. सिर्फ पैसा, सिर्फ पोजेशन, सिर्फ गाड़ियाँ, घर और प्रॉपर्टी और ये सब आपको वर्दी नहीं बनाते हैं इज़्ज़त के, रिस्पेक्ट के और अफेक्शन के. It's the happiness that is important. He also is apt to imagine that with his means he can buy happiness. Now ये इस तरह के लोग जो हैं न्यू रिच, वो ये भी सोचना शुरू कर देते हैं कि वो खुशी खरीद लेंगे, that they can buy happiness, but that's not the case. These mistakes usually seem folly to the old rich. Now we come over to the characteristics of the old rich. To one who was born to poverty. पुराने जो अमीर लोग हैं जो कि बहुत पहले से अमीर हुए और आहिस्ता आहिस्ता अमीर हुए और अब जाके वो they are old rich people. They were born with poverty. Their parents, their families, they were poor families. With the passage of time, they grew, they got themselves educated, or with any other means they secured wealth, और time के साथ साथ वो अमीर हुए. और अब वो ऐसे लोग हैं जो पुराने ज़मानों से अमीर लोग हैं, और ये नए अमीर होने वाले लोग समझ रहे हैं कि वो पैसों से और इन चीज़ों से बहुत काबिल हो गए हैं और खुशी खरीद सकते हैं. हालांकि पुराना जो रिच इंसान है वो समझता है कि खुशी की क्या कदर कीमत है, बिकॉज दे हैव बीन थ्रू दोज डिफ़िकल्टीज़. उन्होंने वो गुर्बत देखी है जिसने उन्हें ये एहसास दिलाया है कि जब वो गरीब नहीं हैं तो उन्हें उस टाइम को वैल्यू करना है. सो दिस इज़ अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट एस्पेक्ट ऑफ आवर सोशल लाइफ दैट हैज़ बीन डिस्कस्ड इन दी वेस्टर्न कॉन्टेक्स्ट. So they were born with poverty, whose father and mother were bred with it. It was not just that person. उनके parents भी, उनके grandparents भी, और उनकी families पूरी की पूरी गुर्बत में पली बड़ी. Such a one knows that merely because his friends have it, it's no sign that they are worth it, but quite commonly the contrary. Have it what? Wealth. और ऐसा बंदा ये समझता है कि सिर्फ पैसे होने की वजह से वो काबिल इंसान नहीं है. He has learned through experience that money is not in itself a valuable stuff. Happiness is what all men desire and that cannot be purchased. आप पैसों से खुशी कभी नहीं ख़रीद सकते. खुशी मिलती ज़रूर है आपको आपके पास सहूलतें होने से, आपके पास पैसे होने से, लेकिन खुशी को एग्जैक्टली पैसों से नहीं ख़रीदा जा सकता, उसको इक्वलाइज नहीं किया जा सकता. So this is one particular idea that the old rich understand and the new rich do not. The new rich believe that possession of wealth is everything. The old rich know these things well enough, but the new rich rarely discover them until they have grown accustomed to possessions. Now new rich जब उन न्यू रिच को ये बातें कब समझ में आती हैं, जब वो पोजेशंस, वेल्थ और उससे यूज्ड हो जाते हैं. काफ़ी टाइम के बाद, बहुत साल गुजरने के बाद, दे नो दैट this house is theirs, they can change their car every 6 months, they can have good clothes, they can go over and travel to the whole world whenever they want. उन चीज़ों से जब वो आदी हो जाते हैं, then they realize that possessions are not very important. So it seems to be with our society. We go in almost without question in all cases for the sordid nonsense of supposing that externalities possessed, externalities, wealth, possessions, जो चीज़ें लोगों को नज़र आ रही हैं, अगर वो आपके पास हैं तो वो आपको नोबल बनाती हैं, हालांकि ऐसा नहीं है. It's totally the opposite. So after analysis for the second time, you have a very clear idea what the passage is about. It's basically the comparison between the thinking of new rich and old rich people. New rich people believe that possessions are important and they can buy happiness, but the old rich people who were born to poverty, they understand that happiness is unpurchasable. It's one thing that every man desires, but उसे खरीदा नहीं जा सकता. And material possessions are not the indication of nobility और वर्थ. ये इसके अलावा खुशी जिस इंसान के पास ज़्यादा होती है, उसकी इज़्ज़त ज़्यादा होती है, वो नोबल ज़्यादा होता है एज़ कम्पेयर टू द वन हु हैज़ मोर वेल्थ. सो दीज आर द बेसिक आइडियाज़ दैट योर प्रेसी इज सपोज टू हैव. Now let's move on to the 4 or 5 précis that we have underneath this passage and check whether the précis has that all those ideas जो अभी हमने डिस्कस किए हैं, और अगर नहीं है तो क्या गलती है. अब आपके पास ये जो कॉलम है, इसके अंदर आपके पैराग्राफ्स लिखे हुए हैं और यहाँ पर यू हैव द एरर जो इस पैराग्राफ में है, और आपके पास हर पैराग्राफ का वर्ड काउंट लिखा हुआ है और आपके पास एक्सेप्टेबल प्रेसी भी लिखी हुई है. एंड वील सी कि हमने जो पॉइंट्स डिस्कस किए वो उस प्रेसी में है या नहीं. लेट्स रीड थ्रू द फर्स्ट वन. Ours is a nation of new rich people convinced that material goods will in themselves make life worth the living. Any individual who makes a great deal of money rapidly supposes that wealth is evidence of worth. He imagines that with his means he can buy happiness. These mistakes seem folly to one born to property. He knows that because he or his friends have it, it is no sign that they are worth it. Happiness which all men desire cannot be purchased. We go in for the nonsense that a full fist indicates a fine spirit. 96 words. Words के साथ problem नहीं है. The problem is that most of the information in this précis has been copied from the original passage. Look at this. Is a nation of new rich people convinced that material goods, exactly आपके जो लंबे लंबे sentences हैं पैराग्राफ में से वो उठा के प्रेसी बना दी है. ये आपको नहीं करना. This précis is wrong. Phrases and sentences merely copied from original. ये है इस प्रेसी का error. So इसको आप totally side पे कर दें because ये सही प्रेसी नहीं है. Let's move on to the second one. On the whole, we are a nation of new rich people who are well washed and well dressed, but we don't know what we are washed and dressed for. Our material goods are all standardized and expensively advertised. Advertisers appeal to our greed and vanity. We think these material goods are the means to wealth and happiness. The old rich know that their friends aren't worth the money they have, but the new rich don't know this until they have been rich for a while. Now this again is 81 words, but you see कि बहुत से important points skip किए हुए हैं इस प्रेसी में. इसमें आपके ओल्ड रिच और न्यू रिच का जिक्र नहीं है, कंपैरिजन नहीं किया हुआ, हैप्पीनेस के ना ख़रीदे जा सकने के बारे में कोई बात नहीं की गई है, और the précis does not contain all the basic main ideas that we just discussed जो होने चाहिए थे. So let's see कि इसमें error क्या है. Précis misses point of original and emphasizes unimportant points. अब यहाँ पे well washed and well dressed up, ये एक unimportant point था. This was just telling us about the state of mind of the new rich people. इसका हमें यहाँ जिक्र करने की ज़रूरत नहीं थी. And then the material goods are standardized and expensively advertised, or advertisers appeal their greed and vanity. ये totally unimportant points हैं. ये तो आने ही नहीं चाहिए थे. ये इनका जिक्र सिर्फ इसलिए था था कि आपकी जो मटेरियल वेल्थ है वो इतनी स्टैंडर्डाइज्ड और वेल पॉलिश्ड और वेल एडवर्टाइज्ड है कि आप समझते हैं कि जो आपके पास वेल्थ है वो बहुत आपको एनोबल कर देगी या बहुत आपको ग्रेट इंसान बना देगी, हालांकि ऐसा नहीं है. सो दिस प्रेसी emphasizes unimportant points and misses all the important points of the original passage. So this again is a wrong précis. Let's move on to the third one. As you can see, it's a longer one. This can definitely not be the correct précis क्योंकि ये बाकी दोनों से भी काफ़ी लंबी है. It's almost the double of the two previous précis. First, the critical minority says that we are a nation of new rich people all dressed up with no place to go. We think the material goods advertised by appeals to our greed and vanity are what makes life worth living. Anyone who makes a lot of money thinks his money shows his worth and believes that it will make him happy. The old rich, however, think that these ideas are foolish. Born into a rich family with property, these people know that money and property don't make them any better people. They know that the opposite is frequently true. They know that money in itself isn't worth much and that it won't buy happiness, which is the thing everyone wants. The new rich, however, don't know these things until they have been rich enough, long enough to find them out. Almost everyone, regardless of social class, believes that possessions make their owners better, and the more you have, the more worthy you are. This is nonsense. Now you see that there are points that have been made. जो important points हैं वो हैं, लेकिन उन्हें बहुत detailed कर दिया है. बहुत simple language करके अगर आप बहुत से sentences connect करें तो this précis can be a very good précis जो और सारे points आ सकते हैं जो हमने discuss किए हैं. But this one is a longer précis because you see we think the material goods advertised appeal to our greed and vanity and that makes life worth living. यहाँ पर appeal to our greed and vanity निकालने से ये sentence छोटा हो सकता है. Anyone who makes a lot of money thinks that money shows his worth and believes that it will make him happy. इसको भी छोटा कर सकते हैं. बहुत से ऐसे sentences हैं जो unnecessarily लंबे कर दिए हैं simplify करने की चक्कर में. Précis is too long, nearly 2/3 the length of original. आपका जो ओरिजिनल पैसेज है उसका ऑलमोस्ट एक पूरा पैसेज जो है वो उसमें आ जाता है सारी डिटेल्स. सो ये बहुत लंबी प्रेसी है, इसको भी हम प्रेसी की लिस्ट में से निकाल देंगे बिकॉज 163 वर्ड्स इज टोटली नॉट एक्सेप्टेबल. नाउ लेट्स नाउ लुक एट प्रेसी नंबर 4 दैट अगेन कंटेन्स एरर and then we'll move on to the real précis जो सही वाली है. The critical minority says we are a nation of new rich people who are victims of newspapers, magazines and television advertising, which by appealing to our greed and vanity tries to convince us that all we need for happiness is a lot of possessions. We don't need most of the advertised stuff like appliances, big cars and fur coats, but the rest of the world judges our worth by what we have. In many other countries, people don't have the material goods we have. We can't all be as lucky as the old rich who don't have to worry about money because they already have it. Now you see that the précis contains other ideas apart from what the passage tells us about. And then look at this observation, writer of the précis has injected his own ideas, and this was a very important point while we discussed how to write a précis, that you are not supposed to insert your own point of view in your précis. इन अ प्रेसी, प्रेसी में अपने पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू की कोई जगह नहीं होती है, ये आप पैराग्राफ या एस्से में कर सकते हैं. सो हेयर वी सी दैट वी आर सिंपली नॉट टॉकिंग अबाउट न्यूज़पेपर्स, मैगजीन्स एंड टेलीविजन एडवर्टाइजिंग. वी हैव नो रेफरेंस टू इट और यहाँ पे उसका जिक्र किया हुआ है. एंड देन द एडवर्टाइज्ड स्टफ लाइक अप्लायंसेस, कार्स एंड फार कोट्स, इसका जिक्र करने की भी ज़रूरत नहीं है. सो द राइटर हैज़ गिवन हिज ओन पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू हियर, दैट इज़ रॉन्ग. सो ये प्रेसी भी टोटली आउट ऑफ प्लेस है. सो इसकी जगह लेट्स चेक आउट द करेक्ट रियल प्रेसी एंड सी जो हमने पॉइंट्स डिस्कवर किए थे वो इसमें हैं या नहीं. Critics of American culture see us as a new rich people who, because we are rich, new rich, think that material goods make life worth living. We think that money is an indication of worth and that wealth brings happiness. The old rich know better. Born to property, they do not believe that just because they have it, they are worth it. They know that happiness cannot be bought. The new rich, however, make the mistake of believing possessions indicate the worth of their owner. 80 words and the perfect sequence, perfect word choice, perfect length, और वही सारे points जो हमने discuss किए हैं simplified language में, और कोई भी सेंटेंस जो है वो आपके ओरिजिनल पैसेज में से पिक करके इसमें नहीं डाला हुआ है, और हर वो पॉइंट डिस्कस किया है जो हमने मेन पॉइंट्स के तौर पे हाईलाइट किया था. आइडिया stated in Précy writer's words and is less than 1/3 of the length of original. So this is the correct Précy. This is how you have to go about it. Critics of American culture, of course, when you say ours is a nation of new rich people, this is about American culture. So वो चीज़ आप इसमें add कर सकते हैं. So here we are with the correct Précy passage that is of 80 words, perfect length, perfect indication of having included all the important points in a very, very simple language. Now moving on towards the end of lecture number 22, that is Précy writing, we'll now give you an overview of what Précy writing is, what we have done till now, all the important components of the various steps, various tips that we gave you on Précy writing. This document discusses all that. We'll go through it, and then you'll see what you have got from the 2 lectures of Précy writing. A Précy is a brief summary. Writing a Précy is valuable training in composition. Since the writing requires you to be clear and concise, you must choose your words carefully and arrange them skillfully so you get the maximum amount of meaning into the minimum space. This is what you have to do. Maximum amount of meaning in the minimum available space. You have to limit your words, but the meaning is supposed to remain the same. That's what Précy is about, and we have discussed in detail how you have to do that. And in addition to its value as a writing exercise, Précy work is excellent reading practice. In order to summarize another's ideas in your own words, you must understand the idea thoroughly. So it's a reading exercise. How? Because we read the Précy, the passage, original passage, at least 3 times. And in reading comprehension, in the beginning of this course, I also told you that you have to read the passage at least 3 times to have complete understanding of the meaning of the passage. In school and in life after school, there are many situations that call for the writing of a brief, accurate summary of reading. You are frequently asked to prepare a summary of what you have read in your textbook or in the library. Answers on examinations often require a brief summary. People in business, in club work, and in social work must prepare short digests of articles and reports. So this is how, this is where we can use our knowledge of Précy writing. We discussed before, Précy writing or summarizing skill is very helpful to personal assistants, lawyers, editors of newspapers, journalists, even teachers and researchers, and students who are researching, who are making projects. They when they go to the library, they often have to collect a lot of material, but it in a summarized form. So ये skill वहाँ पे उनको बहुत काम आ सकता है. Now these are the facts about Précy and steps how to write it. We have done that before. We'll quickly review it so that everything that we did before is refreshed in your mind. A Précy is a short summary. It is not a paraphrase which merely says in different and simpler words exactly what the passage being paraphrased has to say. A paraphrase may be as long as the passage itself. A Précy rarely is more than 1/3 the length of the original selection and maybe only 1/4 as long. And it is compared with a paraphrase. Paraphrase is, you know what it is. It's a kind of a rephrasing of whatever the passage says, but Précy is different in the sense that you shorten it up. आप बहुत छोटा कर देते हैं उसको, और 1/3 length होती है आपकी Précy की. A Précy gives only the heart of a passage. It omits repetition and such details as examples, illustrations and adjectives unless they are of unusual importance. A Précy is written entirely in the words of the person writing it, not in the words of the original selection. Avoid the temptation to lift long phrases and whole sentences from the original. The exercise we just did gave us exact example of this. A précis is written from the point of view of the author whose work is being summarized. इसमें आप अपना point of view नहीं डालते, वही writer जिसने passage लिखा है उसी के point of view के हिसाब से लिखते हैं. Do not begin with such expressions as this author says or the paragraph means. Begin as though you were summarizing your own writing. In writing a précis, proceed as follows. Now these are just general quick tips that we have already done. Read carefully, sentence by sentence, the passage to be summarized. Try to grasp the writer's main point. Spotting the topic sentence will help. Look up in the dictionary any words whose meaning is not absolutely clear. As you read, take brief notes to be used in your writing. When you have finally decided what the author's main point is, write it out in your own words. Do not use the wording of the original excerpt except for certain keywords which you may find indispensable. If you cannot translate the idea into language of your own, you do not understand them very well. Be especially careful not to rely too much on the topic sentence. Do not add any opinions or ideas of your own. Now, this idea is underlined because it is very important. précis में आपको अपना point of view हरगिज़ नहीं देना होता. Revise your writing until you are sure that you have given an accurate summary. Usually you will find your précis is too long. If it is more than 1/3 the length of the original, it is too long. Continue your revision until you have the reduced précis to a proper length. Now these are just tips, the revision of tips, the review of what our précis writing lectures were about. We did some exercises and we talked about the important skills that you are supposed to be equipped with to make very good précis, to become good précis writers, to whom the précis writing skill is useful. It's useful for lawyers, journalists, editors, teachers, researchers and students, and we talked about several steps to précis writing. Read the passage thrice, identify the topic sentence and concluding sentence, and do not add your own personal point of view, and do not pick up longer pieces of sentences from the original passage, and read your draft at least twice in the end to make it a better one. To quickly recap what we talked about in this lecture is we talked about how to write a précis. We discussed the several tips of précis writing, how to start reading a passage. You have to give it at least 3 readings and then underline the important points, and it's good that preferably you separate the important points in the form of a list or an outline, and then write a rough draft और फिर उसको transition sentence word से और connection word से conjunction से connect करके और दोबारा से उसको एक दफ़ा री-read करें, edit करें end में, और आपकी एक अच्छी précis जो है वो ready हो जाए. We did some exercises. We analyzed some paragraphs which had some errors as well, and we also discussed some important tools or tips to make sure that your précis is written in the perfect form. Here we are at the end of lecture number 22. We are through with précis writing. That is a very important composition skill. I will see you in the next lecture. Thank you very much.